Hey, this is Dr. Graves from the California State University, Northridge Geography Department. This is a video tutorial that will walk you through some techniques for pulling a sample from a large data set. So this data set is simply the roster of college football players, and the data that we're going to take a look at is just it's simple. It's the number on their jersey. Right now the data is sorted by conference first and then by team. So the first thing we're going to do is save it. So I'm going to click File, Save As, and then save it somewhere where you would find it. You can call it whatever you want, but just save a copy of it. And so if you mess up, you've got a fresh sheet. And then let's see, I'm going to widen this out so I can see what I'm doing. What I'm going to do first is just create a column of random numbers here and I'm going to type in rand and then type in equals R-A-N-D, rand, open and close parentheses like that, and that gives you a random number between, well, whatever, doesn't matter. And then so all you want to do is copy that, and you may be able to do the trick here. Double click and it should fill out a column of random numbers. What I'm going to do next is to highlight this column of random numbers. That's Control Shift and the down arrow. Press Control C to copy it, and then we want to paste back over top of it values. If you don't do this, every time that you enter anything, that the random number will recalculate, and that may be okay, but we have nearly 14,000 rows of data, and then that takes some processing power. So I'm just pasting back over with values. Click. And now it's not a formula anymore, as you can see, but a random number that is sort of locked. Okay, so let's go to the bottom of this column. I will highlight it in green because this is what we will take a look at over and over again. This is just the number, and then we're going to leave a space as we always do, and let's type in here mean and standard deviation, and we'll do P for population because this is every single player that we have, and then we'll do standard deviation of a sample soon. So enter the formula for mean, which is average, and highlight the column of data. So that's E2 to E13,874. And then we'll do the same for standard dev P, highlight, and we now have a standard deviation. Now we can sample that too if we want to, but we're not going to do that quite yet. So here is our base. This is the population. This is our base number. I'm going to copy this and paste it over here on the other side. Paste it again as special, but values. All right, so that you can do it. Cancel. You can do that here, like that, or the Jedi way to do it is Alt-E-S-V. And now it's okay. So now what I'm going to do, this is our base mean and standard deviation. I'm going to go ahead and take a random sample of the data. And we've already got a random column, so I'm going to click on L1 here And I'm going to sort either this way or this way or this way. Any of these are fine because we will get the random. So I'm just going to sort A to Z, and that brought up these numbers. Now that should be now very mixed up. Going to go back to the bottom here, and this hasn't changed, but I'm going to now change this formula. I'm going to take a random sample of the first 50. So I'm erasing average E2 to E1387, and I'm just replacing that with 51. Now I have a sample, a random sample of the 50. And I could leave this because this is the population, but here now I have to do standard dev of a sample. That's stdev.s, and I would type in E2 colon E51. So that's a sample of 50, and I'm going to copy that and bring it over and paste it as values, Alt ESV here. So I know that this is under the random column. Maybe I ought to go up here and put a split on this window, Alt WS, to put the split or view split after I put my cursor in A2. So back down to the bottom, and I can see now here is my random sample at mean and the standard deviation of the population. This is somewhat less meaningful. Paste this over here so I can see what's going on. This is less meaningful because this is not the population. It is a sample. So we'll just leave this here. So notice how similar the sample mean is to the population mean. That's the first thing. Let's come over here and do now, let's type in strat at the top in cell M1, and now we're going to do a stratified sample. What if we wanted to take every 50th player? I'm going to go ahead and sort again back by ID, and this is sorted by, once again, team and conference. And all we have to do is type in 1, and then scroll down here till we get to something like 50. Alt EI again. This window pops up, and what it does is just fill it in one after the other. Press OK. That's the first 50, right? And then back where 51 might normally go, type equals, head all the way back up to M2, and hit enter. That begins the series again. Press Ctrl-C to copy, and double click to fill that series out all the way to the bottom. It just goes 1 to 50, 1 to 50, 1 to 50, all over. And then the last thing you do is highlight that column again, copy, Alt ESV to paste the values back in. And now what you have is no more formulas, but just the numbers. At this point, you could sort the data by as it's stratified. And click Sort up here at the top. And now all of my ones came to the top. See how that works? And now that is a stratified sample. I could do it the other way around, sort it this way. So all the 50s come to the top. And once again, I have a mean, a population, and a standard deviation. Copy, and I can put it over here as values. And notice, once again, here's the stratified sample mean and the standard deviation of the sample. A little bit different that time. The last thing we're going to do is go to the top and type system for systematic in there. And now press Control A, which highlights all of the data. So what we're going to use is a pivot table to find out how many players from each position are in college football. So I highlighted it, click on the Insert tab, click on Pivot Table, click on OK. This brings up a pivot table options. Grab position, put it over here. Here's the corner, centers, cornerbacks, defensive backs, kickers, linebackers, all of that. And then we can take number and put it over here once, do it again twice, do it a third time. From the drop-down menu, click on Value Field Settings, change the second one to Average, change the third value field setting to Standard Deviation. And for now, it might make sense to do Standard Deviation of population, but we will be taking a sample of this. So just leave it on Standard Deviation. Click OK. And then we have all of these numbers. Notice that centers are the least numerous of all of the positions. If we want to grab a systematic sample from them of at least 30, we would have to take this number, 129, equals, type in equals 129, and divide that by 30, which gives us a value of 4.3. So that means that in order to get 30 centers in a sample, at the minimum, we need to do a systematic column of at least 4. So back over to sheet 1, type in and column into 1, 2, 3, 4. We could probably go ahead and do 5 if you want, and that should still do us okay. Type equals at the first option, the first blank, press enter, copy, double click, all the way down. Now copy that and paste it back over as values. Now what we're going to do is to sort this by both position and the systematic column. So home, sort and filter, custom sort. We want to sort it by, we want to do it by systematic first and then by position. That'll bring all of the 5s, or if you do it the other way around, at the top. So these are all the centers. And we have now how many centers? There's a count of, oh shoot, we were short. I shouldn't have put that 5 in there. So now we have at least a count of a sample of at least 25 instead of 30. So I should have did just 4 instead. But now we can go back to our pivot table, click in here, and now just all we need to do is to filter this. So we have to refresh. That's what we need to do, is to refresh. And if we tell it to filter this by only, say, the 5s, and we can drag that here, and now we have, I was supposed to do 30, but now we have 25, and with new calculations of average and standard deviation for a minimum of 25. So this was, a little bit longer video tutorial than I normally do. I hope I can get it all in. That is the end of the sampling video tutorial.